Hello everyone, welcome to theCUBE. I'm John Furrier, your host. We are here at the NYSE for our 3 days of Media Week coverage. Cyber Week, AI innovations, all tech innovations. Part of theCUBE's East Coast Super Studio. Our access point will be connecting Silicon Valley Studio in Palo Alto, here with NYSE in Wall Street. We've got all a great lineup of great guests sharing their innovations and their stories. Our next guest got a great company, him and his co-founder are here. We only had one chair. Next time we'll get them both in. Michael Dubrovsky's here, co-founder and chief product officer of SiPhox, doing some really killer work in the area of healthcare and blood testing and other cool things. Thanks for coming on theCUBE, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So first of all, talk about what you guys are doing and the innovation that you have and the key to this around the healthcare and the blood aspect of it.
So every time you use the internet, your data has to be converted to light to go through fiber optic cables, and then at the end of those cables, it has to be converted back into electricity for computers to understand it. And so there are these silicon chips using a technology called silicon photonics that do this conversion. So that's happened over the last 20 years, and that's kind of enabled the boom in like data transfers, you know, AI, Zoom, everything that we're using today. And the next logical step for this technology, now that it's available, is to miniaturize optics in other fields. And so my co-founder and I, got together about 5 years ago and looked at it and said, okay, the next thing is probably going to be something from the biotech sphere, because if you open up things like a tool in a biolab, or specifically like a blood testing device, it's full of very expensive optics. So there's a big opportunity to make something lab grade on a chip. And if you look at where's the greatest need, it's for chips, you really want something that needs scale. Like you want millions, hundreds of millions of them. And so we decided to focus on home blood testing because it's something like personal and local, right? Like a cell phone or a printer. It's something you need in your home, especially if you have chronic disease or something like that, you need frequent blood tests. So we decided to miniaturize one of the typical immunoassays, called immunoassay tool, one of the typical blood testing tools from a central lab onto silicon photonic chips.
And how's that going? What's the product look like right now?
So we landed, originally when we were showing renderings what we were going to do, it looked more like a USB stick or something like that, but it ended up a little bit more like an espresso. So we produced the disposable chips on 12-inch wafers, which straight out of the telecom space. So that's extremely scalable. You can make 1 billion of them a month in a single foundry, 1 billion sensors, which is performs a 20-plex blood test, 20 different biomarkers. And then we produce like an espresso device, which does all the. You basically put a patch on your arm, you press a button, then you put the patch into a cartridge goes into the device, you walk away, and in an hour on your phone you have all the data, like 20 different proteins and hormones.
That's awesome. I mean, I think this is just phenomenal innovation. And if you look at like some of the advances in silicon right now, custom silicon, I mean, it's just an incredible time. I love how you guys took that use case and pointed it at something else. It's becoming kind of an entrepreneurial pattern we're seeing right now, where it's like, the domain expertise aren't stuck at one thing. And the connectors, just seeing optical connectors being reduced into what used to be 10 to 1, the form factor shrinking. I mean, are we just scratching the surface in your opinion? Like, how do you scope this? I mean, this is mind blowing for folks. Okay, we're going to get down from a big machine going into an appointment to home care, in this case, is mind blowing, right? So scope the magnitude of where it goes and what it means.
So I think there's already a really good precedent for this. So 6 out of 10 Americans have a chronic disease. It's become a whole political issue now, right? 3 out of 10 have more than one. There's only one chronic disease where you can get a really good blood test at home, and that's diabetes. So you can get a quantitative glucose test at home, and that went from you had to go into the lab to get a glucose test. Then they made the glucometers, and eventually now you have wearable devices. So you see like Dexcom, for example, is their whole business is one wearable device. So you're probably going to see an evolution like that for the rest of the chronic diseases. So like if you have a thyroid condition, you have to get your thyroid hormones checked, every month or every quarter. And so today it's super onerous, like it makes your life very difficult. So it's something that's going to become as easy as a glucometer with what we're building, and probably the next generation of the technology is something where you're actually wearing it as a patch.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's supported, there's no physics that says that can't be done, but definitely the patches are further away. And we're focused kind of on the near-term thing that can really make a change in people's lives.
The real breakthrough, is the form factor silicon. That's the way you guys see it right now.
Exactly,
All right, so give us a little taste of the business you're at. How big are you? Where are you in the progress? Breakthrough, okay, we can see the vision. You get the foundry going. What's the progress? Take us through the progression.
So we started the company a little bit before COVID, kind of out of the MIT community in Cambridge. Now we have a 7,000 square foot R&D lab a little bit north of Boston, where we do almost everything in-house. So wafers come in, and then we process. We have a whole biochip, like small biochip foundry that we've built that I would say is probably the cutting edge for this kind of thing. We're at the cutting edge in the world. And we also have an entire additional commercial arm where we today do mail-in testing, where people can collect a blood sample at home and mail it to a central lab and get their biomarker results without ever coming in. So once we have FDA clearance for our device, we'll be able to deliver those same results fully at home. But today we already serve tens of thousands of people with home testing in this like intermediate form factor where you still have to mail the blood back.
That's a nice little gift, because you're basically getting ready to go mass produce.
Yeah.
Why not take the self-service option?
And it's another thing where this market is poorly understood, so we really wanted to be active in it. I mean, it takes 5 years to commercialize a chip, but we really wanted to be active in home blood testing even before that. And that's why we spun up this whole commercial arm for doing mail-in testing as well.
Where are you on that 5-year clip now? What year are you in?
So next year, next year is the big commercialization year for us for the hardware. So we've de-risked all of the science and engineering, and it's really about preparing it for an FDA submission so that we can actually bring it to patients.
So the product's ready from a chip standpoint, from a silicon standpoint. Get the products, get the approval, and then you got the testing mail-in.
Yes.
Self-service, hit a portal. What website would they go to do that?
So SiPhox.com, SiPhox.com, people can already order a mail-in test from us, and that's with more traditional technology. And there are other companies that do mail-in tests. It's a whole industry. But we basically, our innovation there is that we offer the most markers in a single box, like in a single mail-in test.
Is there anyone else doing to the level of hardware innovation that you're doing right now?
So there are probably 3 or 4 companies working on a blood test in a box. There was like the nuclear winter after Theranos, and then some companies came out of, survived that, and basically all of them are working on, there are actually several credible companies, but they're all working on doctor's office devices, because these aren't fully chip-based devices, they're somewhat expensive, so you have to amortize it over many tests, and you can't put it in a home. Probably, as far as we know, SiPhox is the one company with really credible with the funding, people, and technology to make it realistic to do this fully at home.
Because you're taking it from a hardware standpoint. You innovate on the hardware, get that down, hardcore, reliable, performant, lock that down.
Yeah, so just focusing on making it a consumer, truly a consumer product in terms of cost and also how you use it, right? So removing any difficult steps, making it seamless, like Nespresso style. And that's something that other companies haven't focused on, because there's still this push to improve the way blood testing is done in clinic, which is important. But we just think like the blue ocean market is really in the home because of how telehealth has grown and because of how much need there is due to chronic disease.
Telehealth and these also rapid services like One Medical, where you're going to have this fast delivery of service. They're all bottlenecked by either inbound logistics like note-taking, capturing data. I mean, Amazon's got Health Scribe, I guess that's out there, but the bottleneck is all that inbound data. And that would accelerate the hell out of all the primary care.
Yeah, so basically 70% of the diagnostics industry group loves to say this, 70% of all medical decisions require diagnostic. A lot of those are blood tests. And so basically most telehealth companies rely on some kind of blood test to start the treatment or monitor the treatment and so on. And right now that is the most broken part of anybody's business if they're in telehealth.
I mean, the blood test is standard. It's the first qualifying real data point.
Exactly.
How many markers you guys do?
So we're focused on, we don't do the same blood test that you get every year at the doctor. We assume that you're going to get that anyway. We're focused on the top 20 chronic disease markers, which also makes for a very good preventative and longevity panel. But it's across metabolic health, hormonal health, cardiovascular, and some kind of grab bag of other chronic disease markers. So you have your vitamin D, ferritin, things like that.
And personal health has gotten so great with all the devices. The rings, on my phone, all kinds of wearables. How do you see that market? Because I think that's an interesting, also accelerant driver.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think ideally you have more silver bullets. I think some of the things that have come out really have the feeling in some ways of a silver
Yeah.
bullet, like Ozempic. I love the Oura Ring, which is, as far as wearables go, it's just extremely easy to wear. So it's like very small. So these kind of silver bullet devices where there's not a lot of cost to using it. It doesn't change your life in a big way, but it has a big health impact. And I think hopefully there are more of these things, and they're also synergistic, right? So that's the great thing about it.
What's the big learnings that you've had as the chief product officer, also co-founder, in the process here? This is a really big idea. So it probably wasn't easy.
Yeah, I think coming from, prior to this, I was working more in materials and semiconductors, and originally, actually, I trained in undergrad in biotech and biochemistry. But I think coming from the semiconductor field, this big surprise going into something that's closer to healthcare is that there's not a big pull for innovation. So like the semiconductor space, every 2 years, everybody's got to double everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So even large companies are looking for new things, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in healthcare, there is not as much of a pull for innovation, even when it's possible. So you just have to approach the market in a very different way than you would in the semiconductor space. Like you can't really be a component supplier in healthcare if you want to really innovate. You have to be more full stack, because there's not going to be really that big company that wants to okay, we're going to drive to improve this tenfold, right?
Yeah.
The industry doesn't work that way.
And you mentioned earlier, you used the word de-risk. You have to take a very intentional approach. I'm sure you hit the markers that probably match to what the needs are, one, criticality, and also demand, but also once that's done, the scope could expand. You're going to get smaller, faster, cheaper on the device. The next espresso version, metaphor, would be better, right? More markers, right? That's the vision.
Yeah, for sure. So there are 3 types of blood tests. One is immunoassays, which is what we focus on now, and that's proteins and hormones. The other 2 are cell counts, where you're actually looking at the cells under a microscope. And then you have some chemistry tests as well, like ions, salts, and so on. So we're very focused now on immunoassays because there was already kind of an intermediary chip-based device that's out there for clinics that's FDA cleared. So we knew, okay, this has gone through the FDA, this type of approach. Yeah. We can just make it cheaper and smaller. But there's a lot of innovation also in the other 2 categories of blood tests, and obviously eventually, it's just like printers. Eventually printers, they added scanners and so on. So you're going to have all the functionality in a single box.
And then the 3D printer blows everyone's mind. Whoa, that's unbelievable. Yes. I didn't know they could do that. Okay, what are the key milestones that you have now on hurdles? Approval, what's your expectations on that?
Yeah, so next year is the big year for us in terms of we'll be going through all the preparation so that when we actually do our studies for FDA clearance, they're done. They have to be done with devices that were produced under design control and so on. So there's a stack of preparation that we're going through now to do that. And then obviously everything that goes into getting ready to manufacture at a larger scale. So scaling up some of what we're doing in our current 7,000 square foot facility to a larger space.
Michael, great to have you on theCUBE. I wish we can go longer. We got disrupted by President Trump, who gave the opening bell here today. You should have seen this place. It was locked down like nobody's business. It was crazy. Final 30 seconds or a minute. What are you guys looking to do? Hiring, funding, give us status of the company. Put a plug in for what you guys are doing and what you're working on in the company.
So definitely, we're looking to have more people try our current product, the beta product, the mail-in test. So go to our website and test it out. We're also, actually, I'll say something funny. We did this study on other founders, and we found that testosterone in founders, we did a study on 100 male founders. Testosterone in founders peaks at Series B, and then it actually drops afterwards. Maybe, I don't know, in anticipation of the IPO, people get nervous or something. But basically, it starts. It's the worst when you're at pre-seed. It's maybe you're the most anxious. Not getting enough sleep, and then it peaks at Series B. So we're working on raising our Series B next year.
So that's the peak testosterone is A to B.
Yes. It's like the biggest change is probably seed to A, and then A to B you get another bump, according to our data. It's not a huge data set. So we are working on raising our Series B next year. And then obviously, we're always hiring and looking for great engineers and business people to join the team. Awesome, great mission. Thanks for coming on. I wish we had the extra chair for your co-founder, but we'll get you guys back in. Certainly be part of the network here and in Palo Alto when you're out there. Come by with our studio. Certainly going to do remotes too, but love what you do. And again, the breakthrough in hardware is phenomenal. So thanks for doing that. Appreciate it. Okay, good coverage here at the NYSE. I'm John Furrier with theCUBE. Thanks for watching Wall to Wall coverage. Got 12 interviews all backed up. Thanks to President Trump, who came in, rang the bell this morning. I got some footage up close. I shared that.
watching all the trades, trying to get the videos. He laid down, he says we're going to make more money this year, so we'll see. Of course, we're bringing all the coverage here with theCUBE. Thanks for watching.